It was not very good. Lots of people didn't like it, but as a kid when it was coming out, I really liked it. Oh my god, there's like an order form at the back to order directly from the publisher. But I'm excited to get to the trials again because I bloody love trials, you guys know me. And then I was dreading it the whole time, and the whole scene running up to it, I started crying in advance. Welcome back to another video. My name is Ro, and today we are starting off my Darren Shan Cirque du Freak vlog. So the Darren Shan series, or the saga of Darren Shan as it's known mainly, is a 12 book series by Darren Shan himself about a boy who becomes a vampire. He becomes a vampire's assistant and goes through lots of trials, tribulations. It's a middle grade to, I'd say, young teen book, but it's definitely not fluffy. It's quite horror based. I absolutely loved it when I was younger, and I thought, what better month to reread the series than in October? There was a film of it, in case anyone has heard of it. It was called Cirque du Freak with the subtitle The Vampire's Assistant. That is the name of the first two books. It was not very good. Lots of people didn't like it, but as a kid when it was coming out, I really liked it. But having grown up and it's actually nowhere near faithful to the books, or kind of Percy Jackson kind of deal, but you're still nostalgic and would watch it still kind of thing. And yeah, I'm still a fan of Darren Shan. I still follow him on Facebook. I keep up to date with him. I have his newsletter and stuff. I never read quite many other of his books, but I do want to try them, so I thought I would just start with a reread. I have been wanting to reread this series for a long time actually, and just never really got round to it. Funnily enough, all of the audiobooks are now on Audible Plus. So if you are an Audible subscriber, if you are currently subscribed to them, you get access to the Audible Plus catalogue. There are lots of things in there, including The Bone Witch by Rinja Pecco and stuff like that as well as Dracula and things. There's a lot of stuff on there. So I saw those on there and I thought, wow, what better time to reread them than now? So I'm on my Patreon sprints right now, and I am listening to Cirque du Freak. I am very excited to reread. Incredible series, probably my favourite from when I was younger, other than maybe the Inkheart trilogy by Cornelia Funk. I'll give you a little update when I've read some more, but that's pretty much it for the intro. Hope you enjoy. Hello. I just finished Cirque du Freak on about my third sprint. 182 pages in 3 sprints, pretty fucking good. Pretty much averaging 60 pages in 45 minutes per sprint. Plus I didn't obviously read throughout the whole time because I always get distracted by my phone at some point. I find this really hard to rate because I find it really hard to rate rereads because a lot of my enjoyment comes from not knowing what's going to happen next. The intrigue is obviously a very high factor for me. I did already know what was going to happen, obviously. I ended up giving it a 4. I got 7 exactly on Core Piles. It's pretty much exactly a 4. I did find it difficult to rate though, especially with again, the intrigue was the biggest thing. But yeah, pretty much remember most of this one because I think I reread this one a good few times. We read it in year 7 for English as well. So I'd already read it before we read it in English for year 7. So I think I've read this first one a few times when I was younger. I think the first time I read it was about 10 though, so it is about 14 years ago, which is a long fucking time. So I'm hoping I don't remember too much from the next couple of books. I think I remember the first 3 books pretty well, and then the middle bit's a bit, fuzzy. I know he goes and does trials to become a proper vampire and stuff. I do remember some of the plot twists, which sucks, but I wanted to reread them anyway for the enjoyment. There are a lot more exclamation marks than I remember in the writing. The writing got a slightly lower category in the Core Pile rating thing for me, but it is a kid's book in quotations, so I can't really say much about that. It's more, it's not an adult book, so it makes sense. And I obviously loved it when I was younger, so it's kind of accepting that that's the writing style and that's how it is, because Darren is very young when these books start. So I feel I remember it gets less so middle grade-y with exclamation marks later on, but I don't quite remember. All I remember is I thought the plot was really, really good, and the destiny stuff around it was really, really good. So yeah, highly, highly enjoyable upon reread. Been nearly 15 years since I read this. I am now going to move on to The Vampire's Assistant. This is the only one that looks completely different compared to my other copies. So like all of these copies have like the numbers on and like look really good and stuff, and this one is different, and I don't know why. I just have this copy and like the 2 is down there and the font's all different. I don't know. I've had these for 15 years nearly, so God knows why. But I'm going to start The Vampire's Assistant and get as much read tonight as I can, because I am busy this weekend. So with filming and blah, 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 lots of stuff, laundry, you know, I've got shit to do. Still on track to finish it this weekend. There are 12. So if I averaged 4 a day, if I did 2 tonight, I'd then need to average 5 on Sunday and 5 on Saturday. I think I can do that. We're going to try. So yeah, we will start and hopefully finish this tonight. It's gonna be a good time. See you later. Hi guys, it is Saturday morning. I have just finished The Vampire's Assistant and just lay in bed talking with George for a bit after that, so I've not read anything since. But I finished Vampire's Assistant after starting it last night. Really, really enjoyed this one again. I did remember a lot of what happened. Also, yes, I know I do have like conflicting covers. But I have now ordered the matching cover for The Vampire's Assistant, and I've ordered Sons of Destiny because I didn't actually have the last book for some reason, but I know it's not going to arrive before this weekend's over, so I'm going to try and like just listen to that one on Audible. I don't mind listening to one of them on Audible, it's all good. Yeah, so Vampire's Assistant, another 4-star. I don't know if I mentioned I gave the first one 4 stars on Corepile. I find it really, really hard to rate rereads. I didn't rate these the first time around because I was like 10 when I read them, so obviously I don't think I even knew star ratings were a thing back then. But Vampire's Assistant definitely like ups the stakes compared to the first book, considering they're only small as well. Like, I feel like there was a lot of character development for Darren, especially like accepting that he's become the vampire's assistant now, him trying to make friends. Like, he went through a lot in this book despite it only being like 163 pages. Oh my god, there's like an order form at the back to order directly from the publisher. Make a list of the titles you want and fill in the form below. That's crazy. It's just at the back of the book. God, old publishing is crazy. Anyway, next up is Tunnels of Blood, and after that is Vampire something. I can't remember what it was. We have met a couple of characters that are really, really integral later on, and upon reread, knowing like some plot twists about certain characters, it's like quite emotional and quite weird reading Darren first meeting them, especially Mr. Tiny, because like his name is Desmond. People will call him Des, so Des Tiny Destiny. Very, very prominent later on, and like just seeing him meet all of the people from the Cirque as well is like really heartwarming, and I really, really enjoyed that part of the book. Even though the plot itself is very quick, I think like it is, I still need to think back to the fact that it is quite middle grade level, so I need to kind of look past that, because even when I reread Percy Jackson last year, I was like, oh damn, this is like super quick. Even though it's a fucking amazing children's book, of course. So like as an adult, it's kind of hard to read children's books and think that it is a different style of writing. So I'm trying not to be like reading with my adult fantasy brain to read this like middle grade book. But I do remember like the plot later on is very convoluted, like in a good way. Like it's quite complicated for a middle grade book, I feel. It's currently still really enjoying it. These both have had 9 out of 10 on the enjoyment part of Corepile. And yeah, just going to move on to Tunnels of Blood today. Today I need to watch the second half of Critical Role Campaign 3 Episode 1 with George. I'm going to film a video for tonight because I'm quite behind on filming. Not too badly, but it's not ideal. Usually I'm like 4 or 5 videos ahead. So yeah, filming something tonight. And I also want to study a bit today because I'm a bit behind on my like homework part of the study and like catching up on that. Don't think I'll get like loads of reading done today, but I'm hoping to get through like quite a few of the books. Maybe like later on tonight will be more of my reading stuff because like I said, I'm quite busy today. And then tonight I am doing the Battle Royale watch along with Spoops. So there's that as well. So yeah, I got quite a busy Saturday actually, but I've spent most of the morning in bed, so that kind of cancels it out, I guess. So yeah, I will update you later on what I've got going on, what if I've read any more. I'm hoping to read a bit of like at least the next 2 today in the daytime, and then more in the evening, maybe after the film. So yeah, we'll see you guys later. Hello. I am having what feels like a no bones week. If anyone doesn't know what that refers to, then you can Google no bones pug TikTok. Regardless, I have just finished Tunnels of Blood, which is the third book. I am doing this instead of, I don't know if you can tell, but I have a bit of a throat infection, so I may sound a bit odd. Apologies for that. I am meant to be doing a live online class right now for my accounting course, and my brain will just not, it won't concentrate. I don't know what she's talking about. So I'm just gonna have to go over it another time. I think I'm just like, it's just not happening today. So I chose to finish Tunnels of Blood instead. I actually haven't picked this up for a couple of days because, like I said, I've been having a no bones week. Basically means I've been having no energy, not wanting to do anything. But finally finished, finally got through it. And not the book's fault, obviously it's pretty much me. But this is kind of like where we start seeing Darren and Mr. Crepsley kind of like having a bit more of a relationship. Darren's starting to trust Mr. Crepsley more, and it's like nice seeing that formation, knowing how like close they do get later on in the series. It's like very like weird to see it at the beginning again. And also it kind of starts out with the kind of big bad of the series, not the main kind of villain or antagonist, but like it introduces the idea of the Vampanese, which is basically, and to be honest, like these books, even though they're short, like they fit in quite a bit of like the kind of lore and background that you need within each story within itself in each book. It drip feeds you a bit of the lore and the history of vampires in this world, and kind of like introduces the idea of the Vampanese, which are a section or a faction of vampires that broke off when they hundreds of years ago, because they thought that killing humans was the best way. Like they thought it was shameful to just feed off them and leave them, which is what vampires do in this world. Vampires do not drain people of their blood, they knock them out, take a bit of blood, and then like leave them. The Vampanese like broke off and were like, no, like they're animals, blah blah blah, like treat them like cattle. And then there was this truce because humans started coming after them because they were sick of being killed basically, and they couldn't tell the difference between vampires and Vampanese. So like there was this truce and blah blah blah, and then basically they encounter a Vampanese for the first time in this book, and like Darren discovers what a Vampanese is. So this does actually kind of set up a lot of what happens later on, especially with the person that we meet, the particular Vampanese that we meet in this book. I am like still remembering like beat for beat, plot for plot point, like what happens as I read it. So I'm hoping that later on in the series I feel like possibly when I was younger I reread like the first 5 books like several times possibly, because there's no way that I would remember this from reading it once 15 years ago. Like I know it's short and I know like it's not exactly the, you know, it's not sophisticated, a complicated plot or anything at this point. I'm remembering beat for beat what happens, like whether someone's lying, what happens later on, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, it's weird. I'm like surprising myself by how much I'm actually remembering. It's been teased in book 2, like there's a whole hierarchy of vampires. There's like a vampire generals, there's a vampire prince, etc, etc. So like that also sets up a lot for book 4, probably to like book 8, I want to say. From what I remember, they spend quite a bit of time at Vampire Mountain because he does the trials and stuff there, etc, etc. Like I've mentioned before, I like the trials in this. So I'm gonna start this now because I think this is where it starts getting like pretty fucking good. I know he meets like a very close friend, like a new character who becomes a really close friend in this one, and it's just like quite tense because the vampires like don't think that they think he'll be a liability basically because he's so young as a vampire assistant. I'm really excited, and it's like almost like politics come into it then as well, because obviously there's different vampire generals. From what I remember, I feel like in my brain I remember like one of them like really just doesn't like him, like one of them fucking hates him. And I do actually remember there's a betrayal at some point as well, which sucks that I remember that, but I guess it'll hurt more when I come to it, because like meeting people and like seeing them, you know, get on and stuff will hit more, I guess. And I remember how they get out as well, so it sucks that I remember, but I think I'm still gonna really enjoy rereading it because there are certain bits I don't remember, like certain details I don't remember. But I'm excited to get to the trials again because I bloody love trials, you guys know me. So yeah, I'll update you again when I finish Vampire Mountain. I forgot to say it is actually Monday today because I didn't really read anything all weekend, which is fine. It's fine. I did want to read these over the weekend and I could have if I was in the mood, but I was not in the mood. So it's being stretched onto this week, basically a weekly reading vlog at this point. Hopefully we'll get quite far in and like finish it before this vlog finishes on Thursday. If not, I'm a bit screwed and this video will end on a cliffhanger because I wouldn't have finished it. But I am busy tonight on sprints, so hopefully tonight on sprints get through a lot of more of this or these in general, because I'm just going to start this now. I'm just not going to do study today. I think I just need a day off, like, even though obviously it's just been the weekend. I don't know, it's too much. It's just too much. And it's fine because I have 5 weeks until my exams. Like, it'll be fine. Sorry if this is a bit low energy, by the way. I'm generally just a bit ill, but I am excited to read the books. So I will continue this now, see how many I get through today. I am just going to update you after every single one again, because it's like only 162 pages in each book. In fact, in both these books, exactly 162 pages. I don't know how he's done that. I think it's 162 in the first one as well, and the second. I don't know. It's weird. He's somehow managed to make them all exactly the same length. Anyways, we'll update you later. Hope you are having a good day. And yeah. Hello everyone. I have just finished Vampire Mountain, which is the 4th book. I'm still very behind, but it's fine on my schedule. On Patreon sprints right now, just on the 2nd sprint, so it's nearly 9 o'clock, 8:45. And this was so good. It was just as good as I remembered. It's really, really setting up some stuff for later on, reading a lot of my favourite characters, a lot of interesting characters and characters that I remember will be important later. So in this, we meet Harkat Mulds properly, who is one of the little people in the previous books. And we starting to learn the lore behind the little people and who they are and what they are, really. I do apologise if you don't know anything about this series. You won't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I also don't want to spoil it because I know a lot of my patrons in particular have not read this yet, and me talking about it this month has made them interested, so no spoilers for this. But we do get introduced as well to a really awesome character called Curtis Malt, who's like really cheeky chappy kind of character, kind of vampire. We also meet Ara Sales, who is like basically the only female vampire. Reading this in this day and age, having there being only one female vampire, and reading the reasoning behind it, which is that when you become a vampire, you become barren, which is why there's not female vampires. It's kind of like, it just wouldn't happen today, I feel. But then when you think about it back then, I feel even in the year 2000, like, people still felt like they had to have kids, I guess. Like, that's the only thing. And it's a very modern take, I guess, for myself to be like, oh, well, not all women want children. So it's kind of hard to reconcile, like, reading a book that's 20 years old versus obviously today's standards and today's modern femininity and women's rights and things. So that was quite interesting to read with that perspective on it. But to be fair, Darren Shan has written a very strong female character as Ara Sales. Like, she is amazing and has proved herself in her own right, like, not really in comparison to men. Like, she just is strong regardless, kind of thing. And seeing her kind of meet Darren, and like, she won't shake anyone's hand that she doesn't respect. Like, I really, really like her. We also see a little bit more growth between Larton Crepsley, or Mr. Crepsley, and Darren. And it's just really nice to see, especially like Darren not wanting to let him down as his tutor and mentor and stuff. But also, interestingly, which I haven't mentioned yet, I completely forgot that this book is like a 6-year time gap between book 3 and book 4. So when we first meet Darren, he gets blooded, as they say, by Larton Crepsley. He is, it doesn't say exactly how old he is, but I think he's maybe 13 or 14 because he's in secondary school. He still plays football at lunchtime. He like is like, I hate my sister kind of attitude. And also, it doesn't sound like he's studying for any exams, so he's definitely not in year 10 or 11. So to me, it seems maybe year 9, 14 years old is like my guess. So in this world also, it is relevant to say that half of vampires, which is what Darren is, age at 1/5 of the rate of humans, and full vampires age at 1/10 of the rate. So between this book and the first book, 8 years have passed, which means that Darren has only aged physically by a year and a half. So he still looks very young, but he has definitely aged mentally. So this is where it starts coming in now, where I was saying before that the series gets a lot darker, gets a lot older. It moves into more of a lower YA, maybe middle YA age group. More shit starts going down. Honestly, like, I remember it getting really mindfucky with, like, time stuff later on, which is probably also why I love this series. Because not only does it have trials, but it has, like, the timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey stuff that I love, which is another thing I love being messed around with in books. So, I feel like book 4 is where the plot really starts picking up and starting to get into its stride, and the more background and overarching plot comes into place with the Vampanese Lord, like there's a prophecy and stuff. So, really good book. I now am moving on to Trials of Death, which obviously is the Trials book. Probably going to be my favourite. And then after that, it's The Vampire Prince, which I'm trying to remember where I forget the plots start coming in. Pretty sure I remember what happens in this book, going by the title. And then book 7 is Hunters of the Dusk. And I think this might be where I start not quite knowing what the fuck's happening. Because I feel like I said earlier, that I've reread them loads when I was younger, but probably only the first half. Possibly only up to The Vampire Prince, which is book 6. So it'll be exciting when I get to book 7. And I'm starting to think, oh, I'm not quite sure what's going on here. So yeah, I'll update you again when I finish Trials of Death. Probably will be again tonight. And yeah, having a good time. Getting excited for like the big plot points and the big stuff happening. So yeah, woo, see you in a bit. Hello. I have just finished Trials of Death. And I'm crying. Again. I did actually cry at the end of book 2, and I didn't really I don't think I filmed straight after, but yeah, one of like my favorite characters dies, even though like you don't know him for that long. Like, obviously I can't say anything more than that because it's spoilers, but it's really sad, and like just fucking proof like how dark and kind of like more adult this gets as the series goes on. I can't remember if there's any more deaths later on, but there probably are. But obviously this is the Trials book, only so I'm allowed to talk cohesively, or what's the word? Coherently is the word. I need to talk coherently to you now about this. And I don't feel like I can form thoughts. But basically, I love these trials. I think they're done really well. I like the idea of him picking out stones with numbers on, and it corresponds to the trial that he has to do. I also just love Harkat Muld. He is my favourite character. Like, he's such a good friend to Darren, and he's just so sweet. I love him. I also love all of the other characters. I love Keda, I love Gavna, I love everyone. I do remember what happens in the next book in sort of the first half, but I don't really remember how it ends. I did remember how this one ended, and I was dreading it. I literally remembered halfway through, like, who dies, and then I was dreading it the whole time, and the whole scene running up to it, I started crying in advance, because that is how devastating it is. Yeah, trauma. Am I right? Let's move on to the next book. Probably one of my favourites. This will probably get a 5 stars on Core Pile, to be honest. I need to Core Pile the 4th one as well. But yeah. We love emotional damage from books. I'm gonna start the 6th one now, which is Vampire Prince. Or The Vampire Prince. I don't know if I'll finish it tonight. It is 11:20. So I might, but I'm still on sprints, got 15 minutes left, and yeah, I'll have to read 3 tomorrow and 3 on Wednesday for this to work, or I can push maybe 1 to Thursday, which is the day you're watching this, in between, like the last clip could be in between me finishing college and this video going up, so I don't think that's too bad. I think 3 is pretty good, even though I'm out tomorrow evening, but I am also going for my MOT, so I need to have something to keep me going whilst I'm waiting for my MOT to be done. So I will probably just read books. Crying on a camera. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye. Hello. Since I last spoke to you, I have read both The Vampire Prince and Hunters of the Dusk. And I am realizing again that I'm not mistaken, but I had forgotten that this series is basically in trilogies. So The Vampire Prince was the end of the second trilogy, and then Hunters of the Dusk is the beginning of the third trilogy. And at the beginning of this book, book 7, there is a 6-year time gap. And that is why there is a 6-year time gap between book 3 and 4 as well. And I guess when you first read it, it seems a bit out of the blue. When you start reading Hunters of the Dusk, it starts to make sense because each trilogy is a specific kind of plot in and itself. They actually did publish particular volumes of the trilogies as well, with the first one, second one, third one, and fourth trilogy each being in a bind-up. So that's starting to make more sense to me now as well, which I had forgotten. And also, in terms of book 7 now, I'm starting to not remember anything of what's going on. I completely forgot about the kind of plot twist at the end of this one. Completely forgot about them going back to see the Cirque and stuff. Completely forgot about the witch that they go to see. Genuinely, like, I did not remember a single thing from this. Whereas all the way up until the end of book 6, other than the very ending, I pretty much, books 1 to 6, I remembered plot for plot, beat for beat, exactly what happens. And I do know some plot twists later on. In fact, I can only think of one. Well, 2 for what happens. But in terms of like the other stuff, I was not reminded of anything in this. You know, I wasn't like, oh, it's that, and then this happens. Whereas in the first 6 books, I would read something and then I'd be like, oh my god, I remember this person dying or something like that. I don't know if I said last time, but I gave the 5th one 5 stars. I also gave The Vampire Prince 5 stars because it's very tense. You're still intrigued about what's going to happen, whether things are going to be found out. There's lots of stuff going on in the background. Hunters of the Dusk, I have given it 4 stars. It is more of a beginners to a trilogy book. I do understand and get that vibe from it now that I have realised it. A bit of a travelling book, bit of a start off to their hunt for the Vampires. Getting a bit more information about Desmond Tiny, get a bit more information from him about prophecy and what's going to happen with this War of the Scars. This is, again, not really spoilers, just to let you know, like, in case you are worried that I'm spoiling anything, I am 100% not. It is just where they are in the story. It's not, basically, don't worry. It's Wednesday today, which means I still do have 5 books left, which is quite a lot. But it is 6 o'clock. I'm going on sprints at 8. I'm hoping I can maybe get 2 of them done on sprints, which means I could possibly squeeze in 1 more beforehand. So I am going to start Allies of the Night. And I read that, like, he has to go back to school. Like, Darren has to go back to school for some reason. And I've completely forgotten this. He must need to, like, go undercover or something because this is crazy to me. Because he's like, I mean, he looks like 15, but he is about 30 now. Don't miss the shocking conclusion. Oh, right, so the conclusion to the next trilogy is the 9th book then, yeah, obviously. Gonna start Allies of the Night now. I may read the next 2 again before talking to you, because that'll be like the end of the 3rd trilogy, and then I can start the 4th trilogy. And then that'll be the end. So, exciting stuff. I'm gonna start this now. Hunters of the Dusk was slightly longer. It's about 12 pages longer. This one, again, is about up to 170 something pages, whereas the previous ones have only been about 160, so just thought that was quite interesting, and they're getting 10 pages longer. But it's definitely moving into more young adult, maybe even adult territory now. I like the change in the writing style and how Darren's growing up, so really enjoying it. We'll see you again for another update. Bye! I am here once again, crying on camera. It's not that obvious, to be fair. I have finished book 8 and book 9. So I've finished Allies of the Night and Killers of the Dawn. So that is the end of the 3rd trilogy. I doubted myself because there was a plot twist that he very much covers up and stuff. I don't know if it would have been obvious. I don't know if I knew that when I was younger. I don't think I guessed it when I was younger. I had forgotten a lot of what happens at the end of this trilogy. It's actually really sad. And I know I don't want this vlog to be literally just be me crying at you, but it is really sad. And it's hard because it's obviously not a spoilery vlog, so I can't really discuss it with you, and I feel like hardly anyone has read these. So A, no one's gonna watch this vlog because no one cares about it. And B, then, no, even if you do watch it, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You should all just go read it so that you know what I'm talking about and you can come back and rewatch this vlog. I mean, number 8, I gave 4 stars. Number 9, I will probably give 5 because it's just really good. In number 8, he has to like go back to school. It's quite funny. Like he gets a bit set up and stuff. A lot of the setups and payoffs are really good in these 2 books in particular. It's a lot, man. It's a lot for a Wednesday night. I'm still on sprints. I've got about 15 minutes left of this sprint, so I will be starting book 10, which is Lake of Souls. This is my favourite cover. I think it's really pretty, but also that's obvious because purple's my favourite colour, so. This seems thicker. Oh wow, so this one is 220 pages. This is like a whole like 60 pages more. Number 11 is only 185 then, so Lake of Souls is long. It's long for these. So I'm hoping to get through a good chunk of this one today, and then hopefully we'll finish off tomorrow or today for you guys. You will be seeing this. I know the premise of vaguely of this. Yeah, reading the back, like I remember kind of the premise of this. I also know what the plot twist is, but I don't remember like anything else. Like I don't remember anything in between. So, and then with this, the last 2 books, I could not tell you what happens. So we're getting to the finale. I don't know if there will be another time skip because this is this is the last trilogy in the series, but this is a long one. So I'm gonna put Killers of the Dawn into core pile, and then I will be starting Lake of Souls. I'm sorry that this vlog has just been me being fucking miserable. And I'm sorry that there's no B-roll or anything. I've not been out. I've just been studying and then reading, and that's pretty much it. I swear to God, if this is your first video watching of mine, I'm really sorry. I'm usually a lot more upbeat. So yeah, I don't know. I'm emotional as well because I obviously read this when I was younger, so I'm a bit more attached to the characters than I would be first time around as well. I don't know, it's crazy because I can't really tell you how good it is in terms of plot twists and stuff. I don't know if as an adult I would have predicted them. I think they're pretty good, like structure of plot, and like the reveals and things are good. I hope that other people will like them if you decide to read them off this vlog. Anyways, I'm gonna carry on, and I will speak to you again probably after the next 2. Actually, maybe no, probably after this one because it's quite long. And then we'll see about the last 2 as well. But yeah, speak to you in a bit. Hello everyone, and welcome to the last clip of this vlog. I, straight off on the bat of this clip, want to say sorry that this vlog is so late. This was intended to go out last Thursday, but I ended up having a absolute mare of a time with my study. I basically had a no bones week. If you don't know what no bones means, you can search no bones pug on Google and you'll probably find it straight away. But as of Sunday the 31st of October, I have completed the Darren Shan trilogy, or the final Darren Shan trilogy, completing then the 12-book saga of Darren Shan. It is done. I think it ended up being... It averages about 165 pages per book, and there are 12 books, so that's a lot of pages. a lot of pages. At least maybe 2,000 pages, I think. I actually should have looked it up before this video, but it's fine. I am finally filming this clip, and again I want to apologise for even the lighting, because silly old me thought that I could film it straight after college, after showering, but it's winter now, and so it is dark already. Usually the lighting would be better than this, because I film in the daytime. But without further ado, let's get into the nitty-gritty of these final 3 books. I ended up giving the final 3 books, which are The Lake of Souls, Lord of the Shadows, and Sons of Destiny. I ended up giving all 3 of them 5 stars. The Lake of Souls in particular is a favourite of mine. I remembered quite a lot from it. I remembered kind of the place that they go to find the Lake of Souls, finding out who Harkat Mulds is, like who his soul was in a past life kind of thing, as well as just some of the weird shit that they see near and around the Lake of Souls. And Lord of the Shadows, even the reveal at the end of that one is pretty big. And then Sons of Destiny in itself, again, huge reveals, huge twists, and actually like a lot of crying happened. I cried a lot. I also cried a bit in the other two, but mainly in this last one, I did cry quite a bit. I apologise for not filming that. I think it was quite late at night. I was trying to finish them before November started. But yeah, as a whole, the saga is really, really good. Like, I would genuinely recommend it to anyone. In terms of like sort of storytelling, it is very different because it helps you out with a lot of repetition of what's happened in the past, which would be helpful if you were reading as it was coming out, obviously in publication time in the early 2000s, but can get repetitive when you're reading them back to back. So I would like warn people about that going in. There is a bit of repetition near the beginning of each book, like about what's happened up till now kind of thing, almost like anime like recaps at the beginning of each episode. And also like, in general, I think these books would have read better and the story would have read better if they were in 4 books instead of 4 trilogies of small books. That kind of defeats the point then of them being like diaries and it being like Darren Shan's diary as he becomes a vampire. So I do get the format. I do understand why that was the choice and why it is the 4 trilogies. But I think overall, like, you know, 20 years of hindsight, I guess, I think it would have done better as whole books and then been edited to be that way as well, because they do have bind-ups of the 4 trilogies. It's like the Vampire Rights trilogy, Vampire this trilogy, Vampire that trilogy. But I assume that it's all the same content, not rewritten to be like a full book, because that would just be way too much effort for Darren Shan. I don't know why he would do that. I don't think he would do that. As well, like, as an adult reading kind of like a middle grade series, you have to remember that some of these plot twists, like, I feel like if any of my friends, like, I recommended this to Gavin in particular, I feel like he probably would see some of the things coming, because it's not, I wouldn't say it's super subtle, but then again, middle grade never really is. I feel like middle grade is either not subtle at all, or it completely comes out of nowhere and almost doesn't make sense. But that's in my limited reading of middle grade. I have not read a lot of middle grade, so Gav and Jade, please do not come at me. I think my favourite era of books, or the favourite trilogy, would be the second one. So that is Vampire Mountain, Trials of Death, and Vampire Prince. I think that has the most character growth for Darren. It also has the trials, which are my favourite trope, as you guys know. But I think it has the most character growth for Darren, especially with Mr. Crepsley as his, like, guardian. And then the next trilogy is almost like Darren being thrown out of his comfort zone and not really being, like, not really knowing how to go on to this quest that he's been put on. Like I said, out of his comfort zone. It's hard to explain, I guess. Because, like, the first 3 books are very much Darren coming to terms with becoming a vampire or a half vampire. He has not accepted it. He's basically in denial for that whole first 3 books, up until some point in Tunnels of Blood, I think. And he starts getting these kind of feelings that vampires have towards humans, where it's like seeing them as a completely different race and blah, blah, blah. But he's still trying to cling on to his humanity in Tunnels of Blood as well, because he meets a girl and he really likes her. And then the next trilogy, I think, is where, like I said, the growth really comes in for Darren, and, like, you meet this cast of characters in Vampire Mountain and that you just become attached to, even though you don't really know them for very long. And then the trilogy after that, the 3rd trilogy, is very much like they're following the prophecy that Mr. Tiny has given them, following the rules that have to be done, and in general fucking up the rules and fucking up what's going on. And then the last trilogy is kind of like the fallout of the previous trilogy, as well as the ending and the wrap up, and seeing how all of these characters have their own part to play in the whole story. So it's kind of hard to explain. But going back to what I said about the plot twists and things, as a child, I remember being absolutely blown away by this series. So I think written for children, I was like between 10 and 13, this is incredible. Like, the amount of storytelling, the amount of plot twists, it is written for children, so you can't go in as an adult read this and say, oh, well, it's really obvious who's who and blah, 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 because it's written for children. So, like, I feel like the hooks and the plot devices in children's books are very different to adult or even YA. I think they're, in fact, completely different, and it has to be written differently because a lot of children might not get nuance or get tiny little plot bunnies and stuff that have been put in here and there. So I understand the style of writing, and I still enjoyed it, but I think I enjoyed it more because I've read it when I was younger. So I don't quite know how people reading it as adults now for the first time will feel, but I would recommend giving it a try. It's a really fun series, if anything. They're all really short books, so they're really quick to get through. And overall, like, I didn't give one less than 4 stars. Majority were 4 stars, with Trials of Death and I think The Vampire Prince were 5 stars. And then the last 3 in the trilogy were 5 stars, which I think are the best ones, especially like at the age that Darren is at now, because he ages up quite a lot during the series, like between each trilogy. So it definitely takes a darker turn. Darren is older, he's acting differently, he thinks differently. It's just really, really interesting to follow him on his whole journey, and it's making me emotional now thinking about the ending again. It's just really good. Like, I would genuinely reread this again at some point. Probably not anytime soon, because it actually is quite long, if you think about the overall page count. Overall, would highly recommend. Really good for an October read. I'm really glad that I managed to finish them all in October. I tried to finish them in the weekend. It took me a week because of study. If not for study, I would have finished them in a weekend. I promise you. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Apologies that it's not quite spooky season anymore, but you are getting a spooky vlog about vampires. But if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Leave me a little bat emoji down below if you were here, but you didn't really have anything to say, but wanted to let me know that you were here. Make sure you subscribe for future content from me, and all of my links are in the description, including my Patreon. If you don't know what goes on my Patreon, then this is what you're missing out on. Does anyone else's partner talk to you to start reading? Mine won't stop. Most of the time, George is fine, but anytime I stop reading for a few seconds or anything and he's in the vicinity, he will jump on that opportunity. Speaking of my Patreon, I want to give a huge shout out to everyone at my deity tier. So that is Becca, Meg, Rachel, Lisa, Lydia, Mercy, Sarah, Celeste, Liv, Tori, and Adinda. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!